pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, this is our December meeting, December 4th, 2019. Roll call.
Mark Foltz?
Yes.
Mark Frazier?
Yes.
Francis Griffith?
Yep.
Billy Schmidt here, Terry Carmel here.
Okay, we should have our agenda before us. Any additions?
I'm going to stick right at right after the agenda here. This is also our second public information session for the OBS.
Second public information. Okay. All right. At this time, I'm going to turn it over to Troy.
We can go ahead and approve the agenda.
Did we approve the agenda?
Make motion.
Marcus made a motion.
Second.
Butch is second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, we have the agenda approved with the addition of the second public hearing.
Information session. So this is the second public information session for the next Michigan Development Corporation Local Development Finance Authority that is within our jurisdiction. Notices were sent out to the taxing units again. Given the fact that we have no public present, I think if anyone comes, we can answer any questions, but we've
What's the
come.
initials?
LDFA.
LDFA, okay. All in favor of closing the second public hearing session?
It's not a hearing. We don't have to take any action.
Well said. Yep. Check. All right. We should have our November 6th regular meeting minutes. Put them in your box. Any discussion? Approval?
Sure.
Mark's moved to approve.
Second.
Second by Butch. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. We welcome the public. However, today, being a cold, blistery, snowy day, we have no public, but we're here. Sheriff report.
Well, it looks like last month we had 179 complaints. 45 of them were traffic stops. And I'll just add a comment. The sheriff has been out working 52, still considerably. So even after we did our enforcement, they said they were going to put in a presence, and I've seen them several times. They did, especially like they did on Black Friday. They were out there all day long, and they had somebody stopped every time I went by. I mean, so they're making a good presence, and hopefully people are paying attention.
Good deal. Okay. And that was the highest rate, 45.
Yeah, that was a pretty high one this morning. Yeah.
Mark, Cecil?
Well, October run calls, 91 ambulance, 9 fire. We're still getting a fair amount of assist to the Langsburg Woodhall group when they can't run their ambulance. And we're getting a fair amount in Durand. And that contract's going to be coming up pretty soon, but we're still quite a ways behind on calls compared to last year.
Okay.
But is there any feeling, Mark, what's causing that?
People are working. And under the way the system works for residents, if they needed to go to the hospital and they didn't have insurance, you got quicker service when you come in an ambulance, correct?
Yes.
So, they wait until the last minute and then call the ambulance, and even though we didn't get paid for the call, it shows up as a call. That's part of it, but I think people working makes a big difference. I think people are more apt to go to the doctor when they're working and circumvent things before they get real bad.
So you're down on calls, but not necessarily income?
Yeah, we're down a little bit on revenue, but we're still averaging enough per call. We've got to Guy is in the process right now of reevaluating the pay scales because we're on the verge of losing a couple people to some of the bigger departments in our paramedic group. We're attempting to stay ahead of that, and we do the new ambulances in, although state hasn't gotten there to approve it yet. And the tanker's probably still April. The building committee is actively working. We have some preliminary drawings that we're working with and making changes to before we ever get anywhere near an architectural drawing. But what our attempt is right now is we need to get drawings refined to the point that we can get a dollar figure to it so we know. And then know what our footprint needs to be so that we can look at property. So, one of the problems we've recently found out is that if we're in the township, getting money from government units, either in the forms of loans or even any possibility of a grant, is less likely than if we're in the city. Because the per person income in the city is lower than in the township.
It just matters where it's located, not necessarily that the entity serves both.
Right.
Well, obviously we want grants when we can get them, you know.
Yeah, grants are tough on building.
Yeah.
I'm having a tough time even locating any, but.
But yeah, no, I mean, our township income levels are pretty high.
Yep, and we're trying to address the building. We actually have a set of plans up at the station right now where the guys are looking at them and giving us suggestions about things, because we're trying to address it. Really, truly, we've embraced the whole idea to plan out 50 years the best we can. We don't wanna, so, for instance, bedrooms, there'll probably be four or five bedrooms upstairs for the people that working overnight. And for right now, they'll be single bed bedrooms, but they could easily be bunked or 2 beds in there because they're large enough so that you could double up if you needed to, and those kind of things. We're trying to make sure that the quarters area where there's living room, dining room, kitchen type thing is large enough to accommodate more than just 3 or 4 people.
Makes sense.
Plus there'll be a meeting room downstairs with a kitchenette in it, a microwave kind of thing, so. And we're trying to make the apparatus bays large enough that they should accommodate us for quite a while.
Yeah.
So that's, but other than that, not a whole lot going on.
Okay, well, thanks, Mark. DDA, of course, we didn't meet. The zoning, I think I reviewed that last meeting.
We haven't got a new one.
No, John's not here, Commissioner Mark, back to the library.
Well,
Committee or library.
You've got the library notes. She couldn't get her computer working today, so she didn't type her normal ones. But, there's been some changes on the board, people come and go, that kind of thing. They've had some increase in circulations, which is really cool. They are planning to put some of the O'Berry money into freshening up the Perry Library, even though they know that they're trying to move toward a different building. It's just that it needs some paint, it needs some fixtures.
Touch-ups.
Yeah, it's not gonna be great cost, but, and they, other than that, things are not changed a whole lot since Jamie was here.
Okay, good, Mark, thanks. Troy, I-69 Trade Corridor meeting?
No, our meeting's not till next week.
And then, Mark, back to SCDP.
The last meeting didn't really have a program. What they had was a second presentation after the meeting by MEDC, the new people that are instilled, and I could not go to that, I had to leave. So, but I talked to Justin and nothing, it was more of a get to meet you thing. But there is some movement in Durand, not from Project Tim, but on the property, there's some other people interested in it. So.
What's going on, do you know?
Well, it's money. It all comes down to money.
You mean lack of?
Lack of.
Okay.
They're still trying, they have gotten all these approvals from the Department of Energy, but they won't release any money to them.
That's how this world works.
Yeah, especially government. So Justin.
I got lots of ideas too, I just need money for them.
Yeah, Justin called Tim and says, we got this situation, what do you want? And he said, look, bird in the hand's worth two in the bush, so.
Yeah, right.
If you have an opportunity
Oh.
to use part of the property for somebody else, do it to it, or all of the property, whatever.
Heavens, so there could be a change coming.
But it looks like, and this is kind of an amazing thing, but when they did this, all these options, they did them in the name of the city and the real estate company, and none of them are in Project Tim's name. So,
Well, it was all secretive.
right, well, so now they can do something else, whereas if it had been in
They've been locked.
they've been locked, yeah, that one, yeah.
Okay. Interesting.
So there's
That's
some,
smart move.
there's some possibilities there.
Okay, good point. All right, well, good. See, what's next, Mark?
Planning Commission.
Yep, planning.
Okay, we didn't have a meeting, but Beth and I went to a training in Frankenmuth, and there was a lot of interesting stuff that went on there about planning commissions and their relationship to the township board and the people. One of the things I found out is that on the planning commission, a single planning commissioner cannot meet with a proposed project person.
Oh. And the reason?
It has to be a complete planning commission or nobody.
Okay. The group.
The group, yep. The next thing they said was,
I mean, is that in some sort of, as an official capacity, or what is the basis of that?
based on some court rulings, there's the possibility of
Bad
there's been
stuff.
some rulings against somebody that did that,
Bad things could
you know,
happen.
so,
Okay. Graft or whatever.
well, or bad influence or something like that, so their recommendation is, I mean, there isn't a specific rule or law.
So there was a specific case that was ruled on, but they're suggesting that.
Yeah.
As, gotcha.
One of the other things that came out of that, I mean, there was many little things for the planning commission, but one of the other things that came out of it was that all township business that is gonna be in an email to anybody that works for the township on a committee or commission, whatever, or in the township hall should be done on a township email.
Not a personal.
Right, so if you send out messages that, about a meeting, let's say, to planning commission members, they should all have an email. I don't know how practical that is, but,
Well, one thing actually our email could do though, is we could have one for them and we could have it forward to their email of choice. I mean, that would cover it. I mean, that way it's logged as a township email for all those, I mean, this is the Hillary Clinton rule, right?
right,
I
exactly.
mean, but then it's still, I mean,
We don't have to
they're
worry
not-
about
they're
setting
not open.
everybody's computer.
they're not gonna all set up an email
Right.
account, I mean, they just won't, that won't happen. You know, so, but that's an option, so we could create a, email for
forward
each of
email.
them, and then it would just forward to someone else's, and we still have the record, but they still get it the same way.
So you're considering, if you need to do this, you're considering planning commission, DDA, board of review members, I think that's about
They
it.
don't do it anyway.
I mean, if you don't send anything to them, they don't need it, or if they don't have
Right.
to email anything to the
Right.
township, they don't need it, but that was their suggestion,
That's a good
and then
point.
again, it came from a legal case, and I think that the stuff happening at the national level has,
Well, we have to keep
Push on it.
emails for 2 years
2 years.
for FOIA laws. So,
That would be a way to handle it.
That's a good idea.
You know,
so,
that way,
I mean, it's
that way
something,
it's
it's something to
logged.
think about. The rest of the stuff was mostly, they had,
Townships that do their own zoning, I'm sure it was a lot.
that's a
of-
biggie, but we're not the only ones that were at that meeting that do what we do with the county.
Right, no, in rural counties, our system is fairly common.
They, I mean, some of the stories that came up out of people in the audience, one community, and I couldn't remember who it was, but their supervisor and zoning administrator, if somebody came in and wanted the zoning changed, they'd just go over to the wall to the map and change it on the wall, on the map,
Just like that.
nice.
just like that.
Wow.
There was a lot of weird stories like that.
How much tillable land?
Yeah, actually, what we find is we actually have it pretty good.
Yeah.
I mean, we have our problems, but it actually runs pretty good. You can hear some weird stories at those meetings.
Well, and that's the truth, is our system, even though sometimes the downfall of our system is the county, it does work pretty good.
Yeah,
You know? And it was, just some of the things that people told us were pretty interesting. So.
Okay, all right, we got the financial report and pay the bills.
All right, you have your list in front of you. It was actually a pretty short month. There was, you know, not much. Well, I mean, there's just not many transactions there.
So are the totals wrong on the bottom because of that first check?
Probably, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I selected the date of our last meeting instead of the date after our last meeting, so that's why all those ones from 11/6, those were on your last month's report. And I didn't realize it till it was already in the copier, so.
Okay, no
So
problem.
anyway, so yes, the grand total where I sum it on the Excel sheet is wrong. But I mean, the budget to date number is right. I mean, everything else is right.
Not a big deal.
I selected the wrong date.
Okay, to start. Okay.
Then there were 4 voided checks because the printer decided to pick up my checks instead of printing them.
I saw that, I saw the void. That's different. Okay.
So,
All right, I'll make a motion that we pay the bills, financial report and pay the bills.
I'll second.
Butch will second it. Roll call vote, Kelly. Are you ready?
All right, Mark Foltz?
Yes.
Mark Frazier?
Yes.
Francis Griffith?
Yes.
Kelly Schmidt, yes. Ray Conley?
yes.
Troy, Kelly, any correspondence?
We have that. Mark and I'll usually attend the annual road commission meeting where they give us our folders and stuff for the year. That's coming up in a couple of weeks.
It's December, December.
It's a week from Tuesday.
You know, and talking about the fire hall, trying to make it big enough, it's the new building that the county built for the
Yes.
drain commission and
Yes.
maintenance guys,
Yes.
it's too small already. They discovered, because they cut the size down, while they were in the process to cut
Tony said it was
$100,000
going
out
to
of it.
be a little tight.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep, they're having
But it's
problems.
still nice, it's still nice building.
Yeah.
Very nice, yeah. All right, no public here. All right, Kelly, we've got a couple unfinished bulletins to go through, right?
So last month, we had the fraud prevention and detection policy draft. Other than the authorization spelling on page 3.
Looks good.
Did everybody read it?
I didn't see any problem with it.
Yeah, I read it. I mean, it's pretty boilerplate stuff.
Yeah,
Looks good.
so we're good?
Do you need a motion?
Yes. Make a motion that we adopt the fraud prevention and detection policy.
Second.
All right, motion been made by Troy, seconded by Mark. All in favor?
We're gonna get a roll call. on it.
Roll call, okay, roll call.
Mark Frazier,
Yes.
Francis Griffith.
Yes.
Kelly Schmidt, yes. Ray Conley,
Yes.
Mark Foltz.
Yes.
Okay, second one. The Perry Township Administrative Policy and Procedure Manual. It's kind of thick.
I haven't read it.
I read it.
I haven't read it.
I read it today.
Do we?
Why have you got a question mark after Public Works? Maybe you mentioned that in the last meeting. What was that about?
Okay, so spot 7,
Huh?
Public Works. The capital improvement plan, it says the Township Planning Commission shall be responsible
Oh,
for
Remember, we talked about that.
the development and updating of the Township Capital Improvement Plan. I mean, we can table it until we get better.
I think our question is, should it even be in?
Right.
Yeah, and that's kind of my thought too. We don't really have a capital improvement plan, and I'm not, I just don't,
I think the planning
Because we
commission.
don't have a water facility, we don't
Yeah.
have a sewer, but.
So I mean, we can table it and kind of work on it a little more as
I mean, I
far
read
as-
fine, I read it today, but
I didn't, I mean, I read through it, but I can't say that my comprehension was 100%,
but there's.
Like I said, I haven't read through mine yet, so,
Let's wait on that.
you know, but I mean, as far as, yes, think about that a little bit, but I think where Kelly was going with it is, should we just take that part out? And I agree.
Is it boilerplate from another town?
I think so.
All right.
When that was adopted, we just didn't have anything in writing on a lot of things, and kind of procedures changed as they went. And, you know, one month it was done this way, and I'll be honest, the real reason that was adopted, gosh, what, 12 years ago, was because there was some real questions that went on some bidding processes. You know, I mean, I think we do a good job now, but there was a time where, you know, Bob came in and said he'd do this, and we just did it, but then we were gonna get, you know, I mean, there was a lot of, and you gotta be careful you don't get yourself in trouble.
No
So
skill.
Kelly, where did you get the changes? Where did you arrive at the changes?
For these,
Yeah, I mean, did you find those in other publications? Are they just from experience
Well, no,
or
I
a
kind
combination?
of, the fraud policy, I took a conglomeration of different,
There was a couple other municipalities.
yeah, and I kind of like incorporated, made it our own. But some of the other red areas in here, I kind of, the information was outdated, so I kind of brought it up to what we do today.
Yeah, it's 12 years old.
I mean, we can table it if everybody wants
I
to, but
changed,
frankly,
like-
I don't have a problem with it.
I haven't read it, so
That's
I mean,
fine.
I
So we'll
heard.
table
We'll
it.
take it. I read it
But
today,
like,
so we'll just.
payroll thing, I changed the supervisor and the assessor because that was different from the old policy, so I just updated.
Updated it,
Yeah.
upgraded it.
And, you know, like Troy's doing the lot splits now, so that's in here,
Oh, yeah, okay.
yeah,
It needed to be freshened.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, that's fine, I just didn't,
yeah.
I didn't have a problem with anything I read, but like I say, I can't say I was,
I brought it up to
It's
today.
good bedtime reading.
boy, no kidding.
Yeah,
I read it during the day.
And how many naps did it take you to do that?
When I had Doug, I came up and tell it.
All right, so we'll wait for next.
yeah, that's,
Hopefully.
I have no problem.
New, good,
We've got a lot going on.
Why don't you just take it in the
Okay.
combine kit?
new business.
Probably put me to sleep.
Well, it's that time of year, March board review, so they've sent out the 2020 board review training, a brochure for the board review members. January 30th at Frankenmuth is the closest one. There's one in, there is one in Kalamazoo, but anyway. Our assessor, Tina, the daughter, would go, she filled it out, so I guess I'd recommend.
Well, make a motion that we send the board of review, the supervisor, and the assessor to the board of review training.
Deputy assessor.
Second.
Okay, motion made by Troy, seconded by Mark.
Yeah, that's me.
All in, roll call vote, Kelly.
Francis Griffith.
Yes.
Kelly Schmidt, yes. Ray Carmelli?
Yes.
Mark Foltz?
Yes.
Mark Frazier?
Yes.
So you should have all gotten one in the mail. I know I did, but MTA is doing a separate seminar in January on the township board's role on the board of review.
Did you get one too? Okay.
Kelly and I were interested in going. I don't, if either of the, Mark goes to the main board of review training, so he's kind of covered there. So Kelly and I were interested in going. If either of the two of you are interested in going too, I mean.
I can't tell you at this point. When do we have to know by?
Early bird is
December 27th.
December 27th.
end of the month.
So, but if either of the two of you are interested, let's, or let us know, but I would make a motion to send any of the board members that wish to go to the, what's it called, the township board's role with the board of review
There you
training.
go. I'll second
I'll
it.
second.
Butch will second that motion.
What's the actual date of it?
And that's held, I think at Frankenmuth.
The 8th, yes,
It's held
February 8th.
at Frankenmuth on the 8th, yeah.
Wednesday the 8th.
Wednesday, Jan.
Which will lead into our next agenda item.
Right?
So,
We need a roll call.
roll call vote on that, Kelly?
Kelly Schmidt, yes. Troy Parmalee?
Yes.
Mark Foltz?
Yes.
Mark Fraser?
Yes.
Francis Green?
Yes.
Check.
So you wanna change the January meeting to the 1st?
7th.
Second.
Instead of January 1st. That was a joke. Now,
So this particular meeting,
we're not going to be working on the 1st.
You're only planning on this,
We're
right?
recovering on the 1st.
Yeah, we get overtime for that.
So this meeting is 1 to 4 in Frankenmuth.
Like Kelly said, it could be snowy, they're just.
Oh, yeah,
Okay,
that's
It
pretty.
doesn't matter to me. I mean, I think we'd be back in time, but if we want to move it, it doesn't
And
make
that's a-
any difference to me.
That's a Tuesday, could be.
So, I mean, we had moved it, we had rescheduled when we posted our meeting dates to the 8th because obviously the 1st is.
Do you
Right.
think we can make it back?
So, but I mean, it's up to you guys, whatever you think.
No, it's not up to us, it's up to you guys.
What's
You
the
guys
drive?
do
What's
it.
the drive?
What's on the rule
Okay, so what is that?
Frankenmuth is less than an hour and a half.
Okay, then I have no problem leaving it on.
Then if we get snowed in Frankenmuth, I guess you can have the meeting without us.
So you want to leave it the 8th?
We'll stay at the
Now, we
very
have to
end.
wonder about
Listen
that.
to
Kelly
that.
and
Listen to that.
Troy
Troy.
get snowed in at a motel in Franklin.
No.
Guaranteed, ain't gonna happen. Mark will be up there.
I will say that it'll be the three of us with the meeting, and we'll videotape them we can have a video conference call.
Yeah, that
We'll get them-
that is not.
We'll get them on Skype for the meeting.
There is
So
some
Kelly can take
ways, but I
notes.
think it's mostly just military.
So Kelly can take notes. Kelly,
So are we,
we're gonna leave it
we're gonna leave
Wednesday.
it.
We're gonna leave it Wednesday. Yeah, we have to, I mean,
So.
worst case, well, no, there's no decision now. I will say, I talked to Ben Frederick today, and he talked about coming to the meeting tonight, but they're doing a lot of head banging in at the Capitol because of the problems that they're encountering with getting the communities funded. So he has put, I told him to be the 8th, it could be the 7th. He's put those two dates on the calendar. He'll be here at that meeting to give us an update on things. And so I'll call him tomorrow, make sure he knows it's the 8th. Okay, so there's that. Okay, old Newsboys info. I don't know if we've done this before, but they have a new director. Her name is Laura McGuire, and she is running the old Newsboys out of the Durand Eagles Club, and they've got Vernon and Durand and Perry, and then we're going to pass out, and I'm going to participate, the mayor's going to
Did we
participate.
talk about this last month?
Yeah, I'm just firming it up. She'll be at the meeting tomorrow night with the mayor, at their meeting tomorrow night at 7. And so I'm going to meet with her there, and then she'll give us a facts on what's going to happen. But it'll be at the Far Hall, and they'll give us a bay, and I guess
So you're not standing in the streets?
open the door halfway, and we'll just kind of go back and forth. Give them a, they can kind of run through there and get them off the street because the trucks go through and stuff. And so that's kind of our game plan right now. So that's going to be Friday the 13th, about 9 to 3:30. So, okay.
I have another item that I forgot about over there.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. You got it.
What's the deal on the Spartan fence building and sewers and all that?
Oh, so,
Update.
yeah.
Update. Well, we've been discussing it even today.
I mean, did they put that meter in?
I talked, the meter, it was to be installed 2 weeks ago, and then last week, and then Monday, and then I talked to Steve, I talked to him Friday, I talked to him Monday, I talked to him Tuesday, I talked to him today. So, the DEQ
The
has...
long and the short is no, it hasn't.
No, they have the meter, the 2-inch mag meter is to be scheduled to be, he talked to the engineer yesterday, he's gonna call again today and try to get this installation, get it installed. But as of yet, no, it's not installed. But he does have approval from the DEQ and an email, and I asked him to forward that to me, and then I will get that to, if that's approved. Troy and I talked yesterday and today about it, and the fact that we're comfortable with going ahead and moving forward and getting a
Because
meeting.
we have enough capacity
We're not
on
gonna
our
worry,
agreement,
like Troy said,
right?
we're not gonna worry about capacity.
Well, I mean, I'm not saying we shouldn't totally ignore it, but I mean, that's not No,
hold
I
it
say
up.
this politely, it's not our immediate
It's
problem.
not gonna hold us
Well,
up.
with the approval from the DEQ, that.
Correct.
Well,
That,
that was
I mean,
the hold up, I
there
think.
was kind of two issues that were getting mingled together. I mean, the real issue, the primary issue as I saw it was, you know, since they're doing a different type of manufacturing, their effluent discharges beyond a bathroom, basically. And then that we needed to make sure that what they were proposing as discharge amounts and stuff were as acceptable for a lagoon system. Because sometimes those can be a problem with lagoons versus a municipality that has a treatment plant. So that was the main hurdle we needed to have. Whenever sewer questions crop.
And Steve's problem in the meeting was the fact that he didn't know capacity because the flow meter was reading about half what he thought it should have been reading. So we give them the liberty, okay, well, go ahead. So they finally got the meter September 18th or 17th at the village. And then luckily they didn't issue 2 POs, they issued it to the same company that's going to install it. So they bought the meter and they're installing the meter. So they have the meter, but.
I mean, the
that
long
is
and the short is,
trying to
whenever
placate
the
Steve.
village gets questioned on sewer, they always freak out about capacity, and they say, oh boy, we were almost out of capacity, and because we may get these townhouses here, and the condo development may happen here, and, well, we don't know. And that's why I'm not trying to say it's not a big deal, but it's not really our problem. I mean, we have an agreement, a master agreement, sewer agreement with the Village of Morris, that gives us the right to expand sewer lines within a designated geographic territory. I mean, we basically can operate between the expressway, you know, down to roughly basically our LDFA area, roughly, except going further east to Morris Road. I mean, we have a large area that if we choose to run sewer lines on, we can, and there's a formula within that agreement that spells out treatment. I mean, that spells out the cost, you know, that basically if the lagoons have to be expanded, that cost is shared between us based on our usage, you know, and that's where these flow meters come into, because, you know, it's divided up basically based on our flow and their flow and our residential equivalent units and their residential equivalent units. So the two issues were kind of getting twined all together there, and that's why, you know, the flow meter, and they didn't know capacities and all that. Our question was, is this effluent able to be treated? I mean, they're not talking 100,000 gallons a minute here. You know, I mean, this is just, but it's more complicated than normal bathroom.
Is the metals content so that,
Right.
and they did, they said,
Yeah,
there's
and
nothing in there that would cause him an alarm.
So
that's what we needed.
we were trying to force them to separate these two issues. And of course, the guy that represents the village is, you know, I mean, he works for the village and, you know, he knows their boogeymans. And so Mark was able to get from him, he said that he did have, and then our next question was, the DEQ said that stuff was okay. Next question is, was it in writing or not? Because we all know how that can go. And he says it is in writing, and he is supposed to be forwarding that email to Mark. It was not here as of this afternoon. I assume Mark can check after the meeting here and see if it arrived. If that is there and says that their proposed discharge is acceptable for the lagoon system, I see no reason why they can't proceed.
Well, I hope
I
that
mean,
when they consider these townhouses and all these other supposed projects, that they consider what they've already granted to us
Yeah,
in the process.
Well, it's just, look,
It's
you
just,
know,
it's just
it's,
a narrow thing.
I mean, what do I want to say? It's
Narrow
the
thing.
normal village
It's the normal,
content.
it's the normal process.
It's the normal village process, and like I said, I'm not trying to say it's not important to consider, but it's not really our problem. If the system has to be expanded, it has to be expanded, and everybody gets to pay for
I
it.
mean, I looked at the flow.
Our
There's no
users
flow
get-
in
our
that
users
network.
get to pay for
There's
it,
no
their
flow.
users
There's no flow. We're not, we hardly have anything.
You got a bunch of bathrooms.
There's nothing, I mean, I looked, because, you know, I'm checking the pumps out, you know, we open the bank, and there's hardly any flow, and the pumps hardly ever run, so we're not, even if we increased it 20%, it's nothing.
They're not at
So, anyway.
I mean, their issue is they're not really at capacity, but they always say, well, but if this, and this happens, we'll be at capacity.
But they've already granted us.
That's
But none of those things have ever happened, and I mean, it's kind of one of those things you have to at some point you gotta, sorry guys, we gotta.
Well, I just
move
would
on.
hate to see this project go away.
Absolutely.
And
It's a
So,
bunch
but
of
the-
jobs
but-
and it's,
But the key is the effluent able to be treated at the lagoon without a problem? That was the key question we needed to have answered. And
we got
supposedly,
it.
that answer is on its way, and it was a verbal yes, but once we get it and Mark sees that, and then I say we forward it on to Justin, and they can proceed how they wish.
Mhm, yeah, it's not
will you
a.
text me when you see it? Just text me and tell me you got it, it's
Yeah,
positive.
yeah.
Um,
So I did talk to the
But
gentleman
you're absolutely
from,
right, I mean, they've been
Precision
thinking around
Metal.
with this for 3 months.
I talked twice to Precision Metal, because Justin asked that I do that. I did it on a Friday night, or Thursday night, or Friday, whatever night he called me. He was very happy that I called him, and I got back with him on Monday. I told him I'd get back with him on Monday. I got back with him a week ago Monday, after I talked to Steve, and after so he seems, I'm glad, because he thought we were just putting our thumb up against, I said, it's not
Right,
gonna go.
well, this is my concern is this is, valuation wise, this is gonna be a pretty good chunk of money for the water system in the LDFA. And
Well,
I'd
I
hate to
think
see
Boyd
that,
and-
I'd hate to see that not happen
Is the proposal, are they talking about expanding that building further?
big time.
And then, we also have the added part that Spartan Fence will then need a new building.
But the chances are they're going on Rose, and does that fall in the LDFA?
It doesn't, but it still is captured by the DDA.
Right, so,
And their option being on Rose is perfect, because they don't need the utilities.
Right.
I mean, it's a win-win for everybody, but yes, it's not in the LDFA and not easily headable to the LDFA, but it is in the DDA and they would capture it, so.
and
it's a-
then the other project that was gonna go, next to Linneman's in that area, or next to Charest, the one that we went to the city about that time.
Yeah,
That is actually gonna be in the city, but in the LDFA
it's a
area.
little further down.
Yeah, it's between Lions Den and Family Dollar.
Right.
Right, but nonetheless, still in the LDFA district with an amendment to the plan, and, so yeah, which will help that whole system.
Yeah, so I mean, those two projects are gonna be big boosts to the water project. That's a concern now, because we're hearing Justin's hearing from a number of people that ask him about projects, and he suggests this area that the utilities aren't in place.
Aren't?
They're concerned about that,
Right.
so.
We know that.
I also gave information to Karen regarding grants for the lagoons. I don't know if they followed up on that or not, but I just want you to know that I've
I mean, the hazard they have
put
with,
that stuff over there.
the hazard they have with the lagoon system is they let their engineer dictate to them virtually everything in the same way they let their attorneys run their meeting. And it's unfortunate, I mean, I had quite a dispute with their engineer several years ago. It was about one of these flow meter things, so basically they bill us based on our, the flow, and we have that whole long formula in there. Well, we got into a dispute about how we were calculating residential equivalent units. I mean, if you have houses, they're one. But I mean, how do you convert a business to a residential equivalent unit? Well, our ordinance does it differently than their ordinance. Their ordinance in the village do it by square foot, which I think is dumb. I mean, it should be based on the type of use, right? I mean, if you have a 50,000 square foot building with one bathroom and 5 people working in it, you're not sending any more affluent than a house, probably less.
Yeah.
But yet they want to charge them 6 residential equivalents. Likewise, if you have a laundromat or something, I mean, that's an intense
Yeah,
use
you
of
could
car
have a
wash.
2,000 square foot building in a lot of uses.
And so we had a dispute, and I think our ordinance is quite fair in how we do it, because we do it based on the type of use and employees
Which is
in
good,
there.
yeah.
But I mean, so we got in this dispute, well, we're gonna use the difference was like $52 a quarter, and it wasn't worth going to court over, certainly. But I mean, it's that kind of stuff that goes on, and so that's what you're seeing here. Now, the man that manages their lagoon, Steve Hughes, he's a real professional. I mean, he does several municipalities around. I mean, he has an A license, I think,
He does.
Hewmark, doesn't he?
He does.
And I mean, he's a top-notch guy that can answer those questions, and he's contracted by the village. Basically, he's the guy that does the samples and signs off.
And we've talked enough that he realizes that it doesn't, the flow volume really doesn't matter to us at all. He knows that. So,
He's just gotta.
once I get the letter,
appease them.
get it to Justin, hopefully he can.
But yes, Mark's absolutely right. I mean, they're eventually gonna get tired of this. I mean, this was supposed to have been handled 2 or 3 months ago.
Well, I was just concerned, I didn't wanna see the project
Yeah, no,
fail because.
no, I bug Mark every day about it, so.
Well, I mean, because their first experience in the area was the Bath Road property, the city turned them down on sewer.
And the city just didn't wanna even deal with it.
John was new and it was all, and I,
And
I
that
was
was,
scared.
so their second, this was gonna be third strike, even though it was only the second
Yeah, right,
experience, so.
right.
Okay.
Okay.
Cool, thank you.
All right, with that,
Motion to adjourn.
motion to adjourn.
Second.
Butch? Okay.
Okay.
Good deal.
Have it for you.